All right, we spent way too much time on this one, so I want to get into our next segment. I'm gonna awkwardly transition, and I'm gonna put up. I'm excited to talk about this actually. Um, so why don't you go ahead and take it away? What is our next story?
So we're gonna be. I mean, we've been hearing about this for a while now. The The Little Mermaid. Shout out to Disney. They're doing a live. What do you call it? Live
Live
action.
action. Yeah.
A live action movie of The Little Mermaid. And this live action is starring a black Ariel. So we're gonna watch the trailer real quick and then get some thoughts on that.
Out of the sea, wish I could be part of that
And me and you might have some genuine disagreement on this because I don't know where you stand, but I feel like I see it coming. You want to go first?
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, I was a little indifferent about it only because I mean, The Little Mermaid, I watched it one time, I think, and I didn't really even watch the entire movie.
Hmm.
So I don't really remember all of it.
Hmm.
So I will watch it when it comes out. Um, but okay, let me take it back a little bit. When the news broke about Haley, her name is Haley Bailey.
Halle
Haley Bailey.
Bailey. Halle Bailey.
Holly Bailey.
Like
Okay.
Halle Bailey. Like Halle Berry, but Halle Bailey. Last name is Bailey.
Holly Bailey. Okay, when the news broke out that she was going to be starring as the Little Mermaid, I think it was like last year or 2 years ago. Um, I vividly remember this hashtag. I don't know if you were on Twitter at the time, but there was a hashtag not my Ariel
Hmm.
thing going on.
Hmm.
And I actually went back to my tweets to check and see if I, you know, you know, uh, added to the discussion on it.
Hmm.
And I didn't, thankfully. Um, um, but a lot of people were not pleased about her starring as Ariel. Now, I didn't really know that The Little Mermaid had Danish roots. Like it's originally a Danish fairy tale. Um, so I can understand. And then the I guess the author or the writer of the original story. This is how I feel. Like I feel like out of respect for the writer, the author of the story, if they took the time to be detailed and meticulous about how they describe the characters in the story, I feel like we the producers or whoever wants to make the movie should respect that, right? If they want to ask permission from the author of a story to say, hey, like we're planning, we want to see if we can change the race or the look of the character. um I think they should ask permission. I mean, I don't know what the behind the scenes of was for this, but um I for me, if I was an author and I wrote a character a certain way, I would want it to be, I would want the producers of the film to stick to that. And when you're reading a book, I mean, I read a lot of romance fiction novels when I was younger. And, you know, again, the author takes their time to like give you a visual of what they saw in their brains, and they want to replicate that in your mind as well. So it's like, and I don't necessarily feel the need, like, when the author is describing these characters, I never, if they say, "Oh, she was white and redheaded," like I want to imagine that. I don't imagine myself. Like I don't want to see myself. Like the story is not about me, right? So it's interesting. It's weird to see, um, the Disney decide to do this. Now, maybe they wanted to give Holly an opportunity. That okay, but why not give her an opportunity with an original black Disney princess or what have you? Like, why do you have to take on, why do you have to put her in a story uh, that has nothing to do with black people? People, it has nothing to do with, well, I guess the love interest is a person, but I just don't see the point of adding her or having her be the star of the film. Now, again, I don't care that much about it, but I do see people's like grievances about it. But then on the other hand, I also see this thing about representation, and that mattering. But again, it's like they could have represented her in an actual film about a black film, like a black Disney princess, if they wanted to do that.
Mhm.
Um, so it's interesting to see both sides, or all the sides, because it's not just those two sides
Mhm.
of this, I guess, topic. But I just think it's weird that, again, and I don't this is not I don't have any beef with Holly. Um, I think my beef more so is with Disney, because they are, to me, they're capitalizing off of, the consumer. They know that, black people will have a vested interest in wanting to see the film just to support her and just to see, how she takes on the role. I'm interested in the singing, right? Because part of that world is like, I have a Disney playlist on my Spotify, and that's one of the songs on there. And I do want to make sure that she does the singing justice. It's kind of like with the Cinderella movie that Brandy did. Um, I wasn't worried
I
about the
mean,
characters in the Cinderella remake that Brandy did. I didn't even care about, like, diversity was not on my radar. It was the singing, it was the acting, and everybody killed their
man,
role.
Whitney Houston and Brandy.
Exactly. So,
Come
like,
on, you can't beat that.
I'm only for this Little Mermaid, I'm only interested in hearing the singing, hearing the songs again, remembering the story again, because again, I don't really remember much. But then also, like, I did hear that there's gonna be more of like a feminist take on the story. Like, Holly mentioned that she's not really gonna be, like, the whole focus is not gonna be her like vying for a guy. So I'm interested to see, where they take that. But yeah, what are your thoughts? I said a lot. Sorry.
I have a lot of thoughts. We're about to run over today. So, um, I'm conflicted, but I think the reason why is because I'm trying to take into account what I think is validity on both sides. I'll start with the more right of center side. I do think that there is some legitimacy to people kind of rolling their eyes every time this kind of thing happens, where Hollywood produces these kind of race swapped or gender swapped characters.
Hmm.
And a lot of times these are huge Hallmark characters, very well known characters.
Yeah.
Um, in order to score brownie points amongst people who care very deeply about representation, in order to come off as, I mean, it's very virtue signally. It doesn't mean that the Hollywood execs that make that decision don't genuinely care about diversity. They may genuinely care about it. Um, but it's definitely a calculated thing because it
Mhm.
is tied to economic interests. And so I think the gamble with this, if it's coming from if the decision is being made by the higher ups of the Hollywood executives, is that we stand to make money by promoting this as something that signals to a lot of our audience members that we actually are inclusive. And Disney is really big on that these days. They're trying to be super inclusive because I think that they think it's good for business. And
Mhm.
um, that is actually starting to be challenged more and more as people start to give more pushback because a lot, first of all, people can see through what
It
the
seems fake.
hollowness, yeah, people can see through the hollowness of the virtue signal in general, one. But two, a lot of times it's done in ways that actually like don't really serve the story. And the story kind of takes a subordinate role to whatever meaningfulness or significance is attached to the representation piece.
Hmm.
And I think that it would actually be more respectable if those things were taken into account equally as opposed to subordinating one to the other. One. Two, I think that creators like Disney and other studios that do this kind of thing, this is a cop out because what they could do is create original characters that are of these
Exactly.
backgrounds
Yeah.
that we would know and love, or we could know and love, give us the opportunity to get to know and get to love them. Be creative, use whatever artistic prowess that you have, Disney or whatever studio is involved, to write characters that are authentically black or authentically non-white. They did that with Moana, and that shit is fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did that with um they did that with Encanto, and that shit is fire.
Never seen it.
You need to see it. That movie's fire. Encanto is it depicts, I believe, the Colombian culture.
Okay.
It is so enchanted and awesome. It's amazing and it's very authentic. They and then you have like Disney owns Marvel. They did an amazing job with the first Black Panther. I was very
Eh,
pleased by that. There's some controversy that people disagree. Maybe you disagree. I was very pleased by it. I thought
it
they
was
did a
okay.
good job. I thought they did a good, and I'm hoping for the best with the second one. I'm
I don't know.
nervous,
I'm
but
nervous about that one.
but but you like there's a way to get the representation without just swapping out characters, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised if like within the next 10 to 20 years they had a version of Harry Potter that was black. Like it would not surprise me at all because there's not a lot of black characters in that film franchise.
Do
And
you hold on? Sorry. Do you think that they because I do think it's lazy for them to swap out the characters, like you just said. But do you think that they do it because they think that, the Little Mermaid already comes with so much clout behind it, and that they're afraid that maybe an original black story wouldn't do that well,
yeah,
that they needed
I do.
a
I do. I
bigger
think
okay.
yeah, I do. I think that they think that if we take a character that's already popular and we just race swap them, that is more likely to be successful than doing this with an original character. Um, and the and I'm about to get into where I think the validity is on the other side, which is I think that there is some validity to that idea. It's like completely and entirely unreasonable to think that. Um, because what you're looking for is proof that a property will succeed if you're going to invest millions of dollars into it.
Mhm.
And so if you have all of this foundation, all of this lore, all of this pop cultural reference, all of these sales of the original movie, that's a lot of evidence that people in general like this character. And so if all you're going to do is swap the skin color and then tell the exact same story, right? And you're going to make sure that the actress is talented in terms of being pretty. Halle Bailey is pretty. She can sing. That woman can sing. Um, then you're preserving at least some of the elements that make the character likable and lovable.
Mhm.
And then you can do maybe some creative social justice type things in the story itself. It's not a plaything, I think, and I don't think it's an accident that they chose part of your world for the first kind of teaser trailer,
Mm,
because there
I didn't think
is,
about
yeah, there is a discourse about inclusivity
that.
and
Oh
including
my God,
non-white
I'm
people as
so
a part of
calculated.
your world. Yeah, that's deep. That's not an accident. These motherfuckers be
Oh my
thinking. They
God, I
not.
love that you just said that because I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the first time we see Halle Bailey, who has some kind of controversy attached to her because of all the stuff we're talking about, right?
Mhm.
Part of your world, and you zoom in on her face, and she as a black girl is
That
looking up,
is so deep. Oh my
right?
God.
Right?
That is so
That's not a
deep.
plaything. It's not a plaything. Now, the other part that I think is
Ooh,
valid,
Disney.
the other part
I'm
that I think is
disappointed in
valid,
you.
yeah, but Disney knows what they're doing. The other part that I think is valid though, and I don't know if you saw this, I had it as a part of my story on Instagram. There's a viral compilation video of a lot of young black girls that are reacting to seeing
I put on my story as
Ariel.
well.
Yeah, that's not a plaything. That pulls at my heartstrings, because how many, and I want you to go through this exercise with me. Count on one hand how many non-white Disney princesses are there. If you can get to your second hand, I'll be impressed.
I can't. I counted like 4.
I got I can't remember, a bad black person. I can't remember her name right now, but the one from Princess
Tiana,
and the Frog, Tiana. And then you have what,
Jasmine,
Princess Jasmine.
and then you said Encanto.
And I mean, yeah, but they're not really like original Disney princesses. But I mean, if you want to count
Oh, I
the
counted
females of
those.
Encanto, then maybe that'll help you get to your other hand. But they're not really princesses though.
Okay,
um,
princesses. There
yeah,
isn't a black Disney princess
Tiana technically.
except Jasmine. That's it. Well, not
Jasmine and
black,
Tiana.
but non-white. I
Yeah,
mean,
Jasmine and
non-white.
Tiana are the only. That's two.
Tiana was a princess,
Technically, technically.
and they gave her that story. That's so interesting.
Yeah, the only black. So this is the part that I think that they have a point about. The people left of center, they're not
Oh no,
wrong to
I
point
agree.
this out,
Yeah.
right? The representation is lacking, and so when you have little young black girls that have all of the warm feels and fuzzies that all of the other girls that are not black have, when it comes as it relates to depictions of of girls in these films, right? There's been a gap there, and it's been pronounced all throughout Disney's history. And so part of what Disney sees themselves as doing, which I think is legitimate, is they're trying to change that. Now, to me, the depth of the
I'm not gonna
controversy
like
which
that.
is like what is the best way to address the issue? Because there is an issue as regards representation. Why aren't there more non-white Disney princesses?
Go. I'm sorry. I can think. Well, it sucks that I can only think of one book off the top of my head. But Mufara's Beautiful Daughters. Hello, like I haven't seen a remake or a live action of that, and that would be a perfect
Is that from
story to
Disney?
depict if they wanted to. No, it's a folk tale
Okay,
or
yeah.
fairy tale, an African story.
There's a lot of
Like,
African fairy tales and folk tales that Disney
so
could
why don't
take,
they just
but Disney's in an awkward position though, because that is liable in our cultural milieu to be deemed a form of cultural appropriation.
cultural purpose?
I'm dead
Don't.
serious. No, I'm dead serious. That's liable to be
Okay,
viewed that
Black
way,
Panther isn't.
unless they do it correctly. Black Panther kind of got a little bit of that criticism, but people cared more about the representation and the fact that the cast was almost all black, that they actually let it go. And so Disney would
I
have to
don't.
do something
I
like
just
that.
to me, I don't see. I mean, I don't know where Mufara's Beautiful Daughters originated from. I don't know what country it originated from, but I don't think those people would view it as appropriation. I think they would view it as appreciation of their
Oh,
culture.
it's not about them people. It's about the woke people. It's about woke white liberals in
Why are
particular.
we listening to them? Like what?
Because
What
they have an
they want to
outsized
gatekeep
voice.
everything?
They have an outsized voice on our discourse.
No, stop.
They have an
I don't
outsized
care
voice in
about
our
them.
discourse,
But
and they're really really good at getting a lot of woke black people pissed off about stuff that we shouldn't even get pissed off about.
yeah, I agree because they know how they know. I mean, it's so manipulative. They know what buttons to press when it comes to certain races of people.
Yeah, but I want to speak to what I think the left point of view of this is, because there's a lot of validity to it.
Okay,
When I saw that compilation video I referred to earlier, it pulled on my heartstrings,
why?
because I want that feeling for those black children, particularly those little black girls. I want them to feel affirmed in that way. That's not a plaything. And the fact that we don't have as much opportunity for them to do that in our popular culture is a problem that I think it needs to be addressed. Because why shouldn't they be able to have as much opportunity to feel that what was kind of summarized in that moment of like, she looks like me, that is so heartwarming. And I don't have any children yet, but if I had a black daughter, I would want her to feel that, and I would feel very, very touched and deep, and like that would be profound as a parent to be able to put my child down in front of the TV and show her that, because it's affirming to her, and it has a whole bunch of implications about her conception of herself. And I want her to know it's not the only way to do this, by the way, but it's a
Mhm.
way to do this. It's a way, not the only way, but it's a way to affirm my black child's identity, right? And so like that matters. That's one of the reasons why it matters so much to people, black people in particular. So they're not wrong to point that out.
Yeah, no,
However, there is a question about what the best way to go about this is, or producing these opportunities are in our pop culture. Is the best way to do it to take popular characters and just race and gender swap them, or should we just come up with more original characters?
bingo.
Right?
The
And
latter.
it's not clear what the answer is. It's not clear what the answer is because there is a palpable risk of failure when it comes to new original
Then
characters.
let it fail. I mean, wouldn't the failure be the fault of the black people that are crying about, or the left, the woke, that are crying about the lack of representation? How can you be presented with an original story featuring a black character and then not go watch it? Like, that's on you. Not why would it fail if that's what you're wanting to see? And to your point about the girls and their reactions to the trailer, I mean, look, I did think it was cute. And that actually happened to me in real life. I visited a school um that was predominantly white, and there was a black girl there, and she saw me. She was like, "Oh my God, you're black." And
Mhm.
that was the first time that happened to me. It was a little uh I didn't know how to feel in that moment,
Mhm.
because I'm just like, wow, like I hope I'm not the first black person you're seeing ever, outside of your family. But I do recognize, look, I recognize the importance of representation. I just don't think
Mhm.
it should be harped on the way it is. Like, because when I saw those reactions, I was like, okay, this is heartwarming, but this is also kind of sad,
Why is it
because
sad?
like you said earlier, there are other ways for these little black girls and or non-white girls to be. They should be able to. They shouldn't be so. I don't want them searching constantly for someone that looks like them when they. I feel like the importance should really be on the characteristics and the traits and the qualities that you need to be a good person, right? Because when I
I,
was younger, I did not care about, like, I didn't really look. It was great seeing Serena and Venus playing tennis, but did I need to see them? No, I didn't. It's nice to see them.
it's not
It's
it
a
was it's
perk.
not that it's not that it's a necessity, but that's the part that I'm trying to get at is the reason why it's
Uh-huh.
valuable is because it's so rare, and the one of the
Right,
reasons why it's nice to see them is because it's so rare. That's why it
right,
matters
right.
so much.
So I
Right?
don't
It's
disagree
it's
on
it's the
that, but
scarcity of the opportunity for us to see ourselves shining that makes every chance we get that much more valuable.
I
That's why
mean,
there's
but
so
if
much pressure on the first black president ever to do
some
the job that he did. And I have
someone,
criticisms of Obama, but it was not a plaything to have the first black man in the
of
White
course,
House built
yeah,
primarily by black
and
slaves. That mattered to
I
me.
have my
I voted for him
feelings
because he was black, and I'm unapologetic about that. Now, I wasn't very aware politically at the time. It was the first
Mhm.
time I was voting ever in history, but that needed to get done. And I stand by. I think that there's a way to steel man that position though, and it's rooted in what we're talking about right now, which is because of the scarcity of opportunity to see ourselves in the highest places historically. These matter so much more, and what we want to do as a culture, I think, part of the goal is to maximize the opportunities for the next generation so that they have more chances to see themselves shining than we did.
and and that's fine, but it's like, I don't know. Okay, so I posted about representation, I think it was yesterday, and someone in the comments had said, "Well, you're Nigerian, so you see your people a lot." And I'm just like I haven't responded to her yet, or whoever it was. But I was just like, that's such a lazy point to make because I didn't even grow up in Nigeria to be like I wasn't around. I mean, granted, like I grew up in I guess a mixed community of it was a diverse community, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, but I don't know, like in my head, it's like people keep saying they want to see themselves represented, but you're in a predominantly white country. So like if you I'm not saying that people should go to a predominantly black country, but like you should recognize and understand that like because you are the minority, you're probably not going to see yourself that often. And I think that's okay. But it's also great to see yourself in certain spaces like in women's tennis when we saw Venus and Serena. That was great. But like I just don't
But that's part of
I think
the landscape that we're talking about. That's part of why it's rare. And but the other part though historically is that it's hard to talk about this without I think it's irresponsible to talk about this leaving out a kind of dark history, for lack of a better term, which is one of the reasons why our people, black people generally, and even by extension, people who've come from Africa or the Caribbean later, there's some kind of solidarity insofar as we have our roots in Africa, and so there's a kind of
some people
diasporic
don't believe that.
identity, right? Well, I mean, one could if you don't ascribe to it, but the point I'm trying to make is, it, in the Americas in particular, Black people have had a really tough go, and that's putting it mildly. Black people have been discriminated against, persecuted, beaten, raped, etc., for extended periods of time, ridiculous periods of time. They've been kept to second-class citizen status. That's after slavery, in places like the Jim Crow South, etc. And so that produced decades, if not centuries, long negative pejorative associations between people who have skin like me and a whole bunch of negative things. So to reach a point in our society where we've gotten past a lot of that, but a lot of the effects of that are still percolating. There are still lingering negative associations that stem from those times, negative pejorative Black stereotypes, etc. Undoing that is actually quite the project, and part of what serves that, I think, in the minds of a lot of woke white liberals in particular, is the representation piece, is constantly trying to find opportunities to depict Black people in
So the
respectable
Little
ways.
Mermaid solves that.
No, the Little Mermaid is just one attempt at that, but it's a
A
part of
fictional character,
yeah,
something that doesn't even exist, solve that.
yeah,
A
yeah.
mermaid.
No, it's not that it solves that; it's an attempt at addressing the issue historically, and it's just one attempt of
So it
many.
does something for Black people in the long run.
I think that the thing that it does for Black people in the long run is it gives them an opportunity to have positive, affirming associations between them and something that's popularly received. Right. That's what the fictional character does. And there's a lot of meaning and significance that we attach to fictional people who don't exist. We've always done that in all of human societies, African societies as well as American societies, etc. We've always done that. These stories, in fact, the significance and the meaning of these stories is insofar as they are reflections of actual things, even though the characters may be fictional, even though the places like Wakanda may be fictional, right?
Mhm.
Like they're representing facets of our reality, of our lived experience, or things that we
Right,
aspire towards, and that's why they
right.
mean so much to us,
Yeah.
right? So the
Okay.
fact that it's fictional, I'll grant you that, but like it gives you an opportunity to see, if you're your little Black girl, to see yourself as having the characteristics and qualities of Ariel, as being an inquisitive girl, a slightly rebellious girl, a girl who who contra the warnings and dictates of her father, who is the king, and that makes her a princess, is collecting things of a world that she wants to explore and experience, and she wants to be a part of that world. But then there's like the danger that she has to incur the risks involved with the danger of exploring that thing, and she gets herself into a precarious situation,
Yeah.
and she literally loses her voice, which is something that is extremely meaningful to her ability to like make her soul known to the world, and indeed in the
This
context of
is
the original film, to make her soul known to somebody that she was falling in love with, in that prince.
this is why I
Like,
need to watch the movie because I totally forgot that
but
point.
these are deep ass stories,
No, no, they are. They are
right? And so to have the
for the Danish.
titular character be a black girl is significant partly for those reasons. This is not a trivial character. This is a goat character. This is a goat Disney princess we're talking
That's
about.
fine. Again, I'm not too invested in this. But I mean,
You would be if you watched that movie as a child, like I did. I gotta tell you, when
no,
I saw that trailer, I got the feels because,
no,
like,
no, no.
and what's funny is I'm a
I
male,
did too.
and I don't really
did
relate to
too.
princesses like that in terms of like I want to be one. But like, first of all, that Little Mermaid movie is the shit. I love that movie. I don't know why. I just love that movie.
If The Little Mermaid is on the top of my list of Disney princess movies, but
You got Disney Plus?
I canceled it. I only watch it when
You need to go ahead
there's
and treat
something on there that
yourself.
I want to watch.
You need to treat yourself. Disney Plus got everything, but it got the Little Mermaid, especially now because that's coming out. I'm sure it's gonna be on there, and there's sequels. I didn't watch the sequels, but the original one. And then the last thing I wanted to just try to shoehorn in here, because we're kind of over on this one, is one of the first times that anything black, although it was Caribbean, but anything black was put into a Disney film was in The Little Mermaid with Sebastian, the Sebastian character, and that Under the Sea song, which is the shit. It got Caribbean vibes. Oh my God. Wait, you can't help but move your shoulders. Under the sea. Hey. That's a fire song. I love that song.
You know the funny thing though, like, I mean, maybe it was just me being ignorant as a child. Like, I didn't look at it like that. Like, I was just like, okay, it's a singing lobster.
But that's the power of it. It's just normal. It's just casually put there. But when you get older and you start recognizing where the roots of these come from, they actually deepen the potential for the significance for you. Like, it wasn't until I became an adult and I learned about what Caribbean vibes were, Caribbean culture, Caribbean music was, where I started going, oh, that's what that was. And now it has a kind of special place in my heart. Now I'm not a Caribbean, but I relate to it in a kind of vicarious way, in that the Caribbean black the African peoples of the Caribbean have roots in Africa, and they're part of the diaspora, and so I relate to them that way. That's a very kind of second, third hand way to relate. But it's still a celebration of something black, or if you prefer, African or Pan-African. And I appreciate it because it's distinctive, and it is something that, insofar as I relate to it, and maybe in a vicarious sense, it in some sense reflects positively on me. I come from a people that is capable of producing awesome things like that. That's affirming. And that's what we're talking about. That's why it matters so much. And because our people, and I'm talking about the Pan-African diaspora now, our people have, relative to the more dominant white European cultures and the people of those origins, have had statistically less opportunities to see ourselves in positive light. That's historically, that's why it matters so much to us. And I feel like that point cannot be denied. And if we lose sight of that, then it makes it more difficult to see why a move like this is so meaningful potentially. However, I do have questions about whether or not the Disney executives really have picked this apart like I have, because honestly, I feel like they're just motivated by the economic incentive. Money. But I don't know for sure. That's just perhaps a cynical suspicion that I have. But I mean, give it a chance. I'm gonna watch that shit.
Just imagine the boardroom, guys. Black Mermaid.
Why can't we have a Black Mermaid? But for real, why can't we have a Black Mermaid? Why can't we have Black Mermaids? Why can't we have Black Mermaids?
I mean, who's to say that mermaids are just one race? Like, I don't know.
Exactly. Why can't we have multiracial?
But but we know, again, Mermaid originated as a Danish fairy tale. So
yeah. But I just they putting black people in Game of Thrones now and shit.
What?
Yeah, in the
I'm not watching it yet because I want to
House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon is the prequel.
I haven't started watching it yet.
Oh yeah, they got black people all through that shit.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's inclusive as hell.
I mean, is it because the Oscars has these new standards that you have?
Yeah, that's part of the motivation. That's the institutionalization of, I think, what we're talking about. is they want to create institutionalized incentives for producing that content because they recognize, well, at least partially because they recognize how important it is. But also, it part of what corrupts it is the economic interest, at least potentially. But there's that.